Hello, I'm Chris Payne, this is Paynes Thought Train, and welcome to my Captain Marvel review of sorts. So I'm going to go through it chronologically as the film did. I've seen it 3 times, I've made notes, and I'm going to go through them as the film did, and just explain if anything piqued my interests, confused me, and what I thought generally. Beware spoilers, because I'm talking about the film in whole. Spoilers. You have been warned. It is the 10th of March 2019, and I'm going to start at the beginning. Her name on Hala was Vers, which is half of her name. Her dog tag during the explosion which created her said Carol Danvers. It's split in half, they took Vers. If they were trying to hide her past from her, why name her after her own name? That bit didn't make sense. It might not be the same as in the comics. The comics might have a different reason, but I haven't read them. I'm not a massive comic reader. I think I've read most of Civil War, Infinity War 1 and 2, and what's the last one? Infinity Gauntlet. So I've not read a lot of comics. It might have come from there, but I can't see. If they're trying to hide the past from her, why give her a second name? Next thing, at the very beginning of the film, actually this probably should have been first, but it wasn't, the usual Marvel logo which flashes up all the heroes in different action scenes from past films was all Stan Lee. Every cameo, I assume every cameo he had, flashed up as a Marvel logo came across, and I thought it was a very nice tribute. It looked really good, and the first time I saw it I did get a little bit happy, and I get more happy because it was very appropriate. Kind of honoured everything he's done for the MCU, let alone the rest of the comics. One of the early things they did in this film was space travel. Now, what I noticed is it's a lot like the Guardians travelled in Guardians 2, where they would space hop, for want of a better expression, through hexagonal holes in the universe. They would just hop through one, and then an hexagonal hole, yeah, that makes sense. Hexagonal hole would appear where they want it to be, and almost straight there, like teleportation. It seemed very efficient, and seeing as it's used across multiple films, it's obviously not a technology that one civilization, not race is not the right word, but it's not limited to one. So why is it not more widespread in other films? Because again, at the end of the film, they use what looks like Star Wars hyperspace to shoot off. So I'm not entirely sure where this difference in space travel comes from. Again, this seems all very odd, but I did do it chronologically. Yon-Rog's weapon, not his gun, his wrist-mounted gravitational field was really interesting. It looked cool. It essentially gave him telekinetic powers, a bit like you'd expect from Dark Phoenix Lady Jean Grey. And he was actually very adept with it. But it reminded me of a scene in Age of Ultron where they're chasing after the Vision box in a truck, and Ultron just Black Widow's chasing him, and he just lifts up a massive chunk of earth from the road, and never understood in the slightest how he managed to do that. This is the closest thing I can see technological wise, which is what Ultron is. So I don't know if there's a link between the two. I mean, Yon-Rog's a Kree, Ultron is basically made of human and Vision. Don't know where the power for his wrist-mounted gravity fields come from, but it's the only thing in the MCU I can imagine is anything close to what Ultron did against Black Widow. So I'm not quite sure what the relationship there between the technologies is, or if Ultron can just do things because he wants to. De-aging. In one of the first scenes on Earth, you bump into Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury and Phil Coulson, whose name I don't know the actor's name. Their de-aging is very good. They look young, especially Phil Coulson, because obviously he's quite old now, as is Samuel L. Jackson. But Phil's looked really good. You could easily believe he was 20, 30 years younger. And it wasn't a surprise. It was just impressive that they managed to make him look that young. Stan Lee's actual cameo, not the beginning, his actual in-film cameo was very nice. You first see him as Captain Marvel, or Vers, as she is at the time, is walking down. She's walking down the train and he's hiding behind a magazine and he's mumbling. And she just pulls one finger down. You see him, and the music that plays is a quiet but very upbeat, very, I don't know the word. It's a nice tune for an audience who knows that he's gone, but it's very nicely done. It's very just calming, and it makes you feel good. And then Captain Marvel, I'm going to say Brie, because she looks at him out of character, because there's no reason she would look at him the way she looks at him, but she gives him a knowing smile, and it just seems like a very nice way to do his last film. Well, not his last one, but the first one. The first one since he passed. And I believe it might have been shot after he passed, because I don't think this would have been put in the way it was. Because as I said, it's in that place. But it was, again, very nice. Florkin. Goose the cat is a Florkin. Which, obviously, I've watched videos, so I knew what a Florkin was going into this film. And I knew that Goose in the comics is a Florkin. But I wasn't sure if the MCU was going to put something that, it's not vague, but it's out there. And I wasn't sure if they were going to, because, again, this is a movie. The comics, you can get away with a lot more unusual things. So I think this is a sign that the MCU have got the fans, they've got the numbers, they've got the confidence of the fans, that they're going to be able to explore these more unusual concepts and make it work. It was a very weird throughout the film, seeing what the Florkin, what Goose did, what he can do. It was good, very, very good special effects, and I hope he comes back, because I did like him. But in my eyes, it shows the MCU are more prepared to go in a new, not a new direction, just in a more out there direction. We've actually got quite far into the film already, to be honest. The next bit is near the very end. It's probably in the third act. The whole film revolves around the Kree and the Skrull. I should probably do an actual film that goes through it. We'll see how this goes. It's about them finding, I can't remember what it's called, but it's essentially the Tesseract, which everyone knows is a Infinity Stone. And only beings of immense power can hold the Infinity Stone. And it's held in this rig. And Captain Marvel just walks up and picks it up like it's nothing. Never mentioned, because nobody at that time knows what it is, knows what it can be. I just thought it was very cool. She just walked up, picked it up, and just started carrying it around as if it was a block of cheese. Even though we all know it's Infinity Stone and only the most powerful can do it. So had it been Nick Fury, had it been the lady who, God, I can't remember her name, they would have probably died. But nobody knows that. And it was just it wasn't bypassed because he didn't know it. It was just avoided, and it was done in a good way. Now, at one point they all get captured. Nick Fury, the Talos, the lady whose name I cannot remember, Captain Marvel, they all get captured in the third act. And they're scanning. One of the Kree is scanning them. And Florkin, high danger. If you see the film, you know why it eats a lot of people. Well, not a lot, but it eats people, and it's a cat, so, danger. Then you scan Fury, and it says threat level low. And I didn't like that. It's Nick Fury. His threat is a hell of a lot more than low, and I think they did it for a funny moment, which sometimes the MCU do a bit too much, when, in my eyes, it should have been threat level at least moderate, if not high, because it is Nick Fury. Nicholas Joseph Fury, according to this film, which I don't know if it's been mentioned before in the MCU, but Nicholas J. Fury is Nicholas Joseph Fury, but Fury to the world. The end of the film sort of ends, and I think it sort of suggests where Captain Marvel 2 might be. I think Captain Marvel 2 is going to be a prequel again to the current MCU, because it ends with her flying off and trying to rehome some Skrulls, and gathering the Skrulls that have been spread across the universe after the attacks by the Kree. And I think number 2 could be about her trying to find a home for the Kree she's looking after, and spreading out to find, the Skrulls she's looking after, and trying to find more Skrulls to bring them back and find them a planet for themselves. I think that would be a good place to go. It's another prequel. I don't think 2 prequel films have existed in this kind of scenario before, so that would be an interesting way to go. One thing that did happen on one of the final fights down on Earth, there was a dogfight between, again, Captain, whose name I do not know, and Gemma Chan's character, don't know her name either. But they come at each other, and this is not just this film, but every film. One aircraft shoots another aircraft explodes, first aircraft flies through the explosion. Now, I could be wrong, but even if something explodes, there's still debris, and flying through it is incredibly dangerous, and you probably should avoid it. Again, I could be wrong, but any explosion leaves debris, so flying through it, bad idea. And I've never seen a plane shoot another plane, fly through and hit the debris and crash, which I think would probably happen at some point. It's not a reveal at the end, but Carol, Captain Marvel's flown off. By the way, never once in this film is the word Captain Marvel ever used. She is Vers and then Carol Danvers. Captain Marvel never used in the film except the end where it flashes up on screen. But that's not really in the film, is it? That's not canon. At the end, Nick Fury is looking through a booklet. Well, it's not a booklet, it's just classified files of Carol Danvers when she was on Earth. And on it, there's a picture of her getting into her ship. And on it says, you know what, before you see him open it, on screen he has got the Protector Initiative. And the words are something like, this plan involves finding humans of over-capable powers, or something to that degree. It's basically what we call the Avengers. So he opens up this booklet, and there's a picture of Carol getting into a plane, and on the words it says, Captain Carol the Avenger Danvers. Deletes Protector and writes in the Avengers Initiative. And whilst he does this, the music behind him is the Avengers music, and that made me feel really good, because that, to me, don't really count Captain America, the first Avenger. This was the moment for me that the Avengers became a thing. It became a real initiative, a real project for Nick Fury to work towards. I mean, this was 1995, so it's what, 13 years later when he finds his first Avenger. But that's neither here nor there. That was a very good moment for me. In conclusion, very good film. You know what? It's not the conclusion. I'm going to do a second video about the actual film, a proper review or breakdown or whatever the hell you want to call it, where I'll go through and explain the film. Last thing I want to mention is there have been little bits in the trailer of Carol, or I'm going to say Captain Marvel, in space, gone binary, fully kicking ass. That was a hell of a moment for me. Watching that 3 times, I love it. How does it begin? She's talking to the Kree in supreme intelligence, breaks out, because up until that point she thought the Kree gave her a power she learned. She absorbed them from a blast created by Tesseract. So that's Vision, Wanda, Pietro, and now her 4 people created by an Infinity Stone. So there could be more. But anyway, she realizes that she can break from the control of Supreme Intelligence. She goes binary, goes down to Earth, and then all of a sudden the Kree warships are coming into Earth's orbit. She goes binary, Super Saiyan type stuff, flies up into space, blows up about 15 what are probably nuclear-sized warheads in space, and then just utterly destroys the fleet of aircraft. I just spat. Utterly destroys the fleet of aircraft pursuing her, as well as what's essentially an MCU version of a Star Destroyer, by just flying through it. Not using her power, she just flies straight through it, blows it up, and then she sort of floats in front of the rest as if to say, come at me, I will destroy you. And they bugger off into their hexagonal little holes. But her in space, gone binary, just looks fantastic. And I look forward to seeing what happens in Endgame. There is a mid-credit scene, a post-credit scene. Post-credit scene is just the Floor King Goose throwing up the Tesseract, which she ate during the film. Not sure how this runs with the current timeline, because obviously it was found in the ice, but maybe the main character found it in the ice, and Nick Fury's just had it between 95 and 2012, whenever the Avengers was set, roughly. Not sure what he did with it. I'm sure we'll find out in time. Maybe Captain Marvel 2, maybe, I don't know. But as it stands, I'm not entirely sure what the current timeline is of the Tesseract. I believe there's a YouTube video my friend showed me it. I haven't seen it yet. I might check it out. Last point, there's a mid-credit scene which to me gave me goosebumps. Whilst watching it, the first time I was sat back watching the credits, and then it popped up. It was Captain America and Black Widow looking at a screen of total deaths, and as soon as I saw it, sat up. Pager stops working, they all crowd around it. Black Widow, get it working again, I want to know who's on the other end. Turns around, boom, there's Captain Marvel right in front of her. All she says is, where's Fury? And she's gone. So those were all the interesting parts I took from Captain Marvel. I will be doing a review. I will actually do that now and upload it pretty soon. This is a longer video than normal, but I've had quite a lot to talk about. If you enjoyed it, like it, share it. If you have something to say, as I always welcome other people's views on the MCU, because I don't know a lot compared to other people who also read comics. Go ahead, comment. I'll happily have a chat with you if you do. But thanks for watching. See you, well, probably for my actual Captain Marvel review. Goodbye.